So I didn't plan a bit for this one. This one, it's a series film. I did genuinely try to come up with something, but hey, check this out. I did get the Grimace egg. What?
It's a Friday once again.
Hey fellow freaks, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys have all had a great week. It is time for yet another movie review. And this week we are looking at something that has been on my watch list for years, probably almost a decade, which is Lake Mungo from 2008, directed by Joel Anderson. So the first time I ever saw anything about Lake Mungo, I'm pretty sure it was just through Tumblr. Through the Tumblr horror community, I saw people's screenshots and GIFs. Like, you know, those little collection of posts that go around on Tumblr. It always looked really interesting, really spooky. It always looked a little ooky spooky and really interesting. I knew one day I would watch it because it has gotten a lot of praise by audiences throughout the years. I've seen people call this movie disturbing and creepy and maybe even like one of the better horror movies ever made. And I have been curious if this movie lived up to its hype, as I usually am. Typically, I'm very disappointed whenever a horror movie gets overhyped by the public. I don't know why, but for me, usually when something is very overhyped, I sit down and I watch it and it's mediocre at best, usually. So I did have some high hopes for this movie going into it, but at the same time, I was trying to keep myself very reserved because I'm like, is this gonna be one of those overhyped movies that's just hyped for no reason? Well, we'll see. We'll get into it. Either way, I was curious, and I've also somehow managed to keep myself completely spoiler-free for all of these years. Again, like probably a decade that this has been on my watch list. I've managed to keep myself spoiler-free so that I could go into Lake Mungo completely blind, which I'm pretty sure is what everyone recommends doing. It's definitely what I recommend to you if you have not seen it yet. Going into Lake Mungo for this review, the only things that I was aware of was that it is shot in a documentary style and that it follows a story like it follows a girl that drowned. Well, it doesn't follow her, but it has a girl that drowns and it's shot in a documentary style. That's it. That's all I knew going into it. Everything else, blind. Somehow I managed to just be spoiler-free, completely blind for this review, and oh my god, I'm very happy that I kept it that way. If you are new here, hi, my name is STARGUTZZZ. Any crashing or loud noises that you might hear in the background are my cats. Also, my reviews tend to be more of a discussion of elements or aspects that I think are working for the film or work against it. Basically what's good or bad with the film, rather than just giving you a play-by-play rundown of everything that happens in it. In other words, I tried to remain as spoiler-free as possible. With Lake Mungo, this is going to be very difficult. In fact, maybe impossible. So let this review serve as a little bit of an exception to this rule, because again, you should go into watching Lake Mungo blind, and it is impossible to discuss it. At least for me, it's impossible to discuss this without giving spoilers of things that are detrimental to watching it blind. So if you have not seen Lake Mungo yet, I highly recommend you do so before the rest of this review, because like I said, this is going to be a little bit of an exception. There's no way for me to really discuss this movie without being spoiler-free, because it's like all of it's a spoiler, at least in my opinion. So if you would like to watch Lake Mungo before the rest of this review, you can do so on Freevee. It's not on Tubi, but it is on Freevee, which I believe is Amazon Prime's free platform. I'll put a link in the description. It will be an Amazon link, even though it's technically through Freevee. I don't know how it works. I don't know how that works. Does Amazon own Freevee? And then like anything you can watch with ads is through, I don't know. I don't care. All you need to care about is that I have put a link in the description to watch Lake Mungo if you would like to before the rest of this review, just so it is that much easier for you to get access to this movie. Not sponsored by Freevee, Amazon Prime, whatever, obviously. And we don't want to be sponsored by them either. You know who we want to be sponsored by? Tubi! Anyway, enough of the jaw flapping. Let's get right into this review and find out, does Lake Mungo live up to the hype that people give it online? Let's see, I don't know. Lake Mungo is a faux documentary that follows a grieving family after the drowning of their daughter, Laura Palmer. I mean, Alice Palmer. The film serves as a documentation of the strange events and mysteries which arise after Alice's death. And that is all I'm gonna say. Lips are sealed. That is all the synopsis that you are getting for this. Because it needs to be experienced firsthand. You should not go onto YouTube and just have somebody tell you everything that happens in it. This is a horror movie. You need to experience it firsthand. Trust me, just go watch it blind before the rest of this discussion. I will try to remain as spoiler-free still as possible, but again, it feels very hard to discuss this film without giving away the spoilers. So first on our discussion block is the fact that we need to address the elephant in the room. Alice Palmer is clearly inspired by Laura Palmer from Twin Peaks. Now, before getting too into this part of the discussion, I do want to note that, I don't think all of these similarities were included to be a copycat, okay? I don't think it's necessarily just trying to copy Laura's story from Twin Peaks. It instead feels like an homage or a nod to Laura. Maybe the director-writer is a big fan of Twin Peaks. They really like Laura's story in it and they want to embellish it kind of in their own way. I see that in this movie. But dear God, does that not stop from the fact that Alice and Laura are the same character? Again, I don't think the intention is copying. I think the intention is a respectful homage. Obviously, their surnames are the same, Palmer, right? That's the first clue, right? But then their stories, their narratives are almost identical. Almost. A teenage girl who's beloved by many suddenly dies. Post-death, the people closest to her begin to learn of the secrets she kept and her double life. Through the uncovering of these secrets and mysteries, it becomes clear that the girl knew she was about to die in the months leading up to it. And then some more of these similarities that I couldn't exactly figure out how to tie in there all beautifully. Both of their bodies are found in water. For Alice, she dies in water, and Laura, I believe she's stabbed, but she's found on the shore. We have aspects of the dead haunting the living as their mysterious death is trying to be uncovered. And then there is the sex with adults. Almost everything about Alice you can just directly link to Miss Laura Palmer. Peace and love, but they are the same character. Now, obviously, Lake Mungo does things differently with Alice's death than how things go with Laura's death in Twin Peaks. You know, Twin Peaks is a show, so they have more time to really draw out some of the stuff. Meanwhile, Lake Mungo is an hour-and-a-half faux documentary. Two different narrative styles taking place here, so they are different in that sense. Especially Twin Peaks, soap opera, and more focused on the mystery of who killed Laura. Meanwhile, Lake Mungo is more focused on the dead haunting the living. I do think Lake Mungo is able to take these similarities from Laura, apply it to Alice, and I do think they are able to make something new and compelling from it that isn't literally Twin Peaks. It's not literally Twin Peaks. It's just that these two characters have a lot of similarities. And there is one element of Alice's character in Lake Mungo that it doesn't fit, at least in my opinion. Let me forward this part of the discussion with a disclaimer that hey, maybe I don't get it. Okay, maybe I don't get it. Somebody tell me. But in Lake Mungo, the aspect or the similarity that Alice has to Laura in that she has sex with adults, whether that was consenting or non-consensual, where Twin Peaks is able to build up to this aspect of Laura, kind of start with this perfect image of her and then slowly put in the pieces of her double life that she was leading. And Lake Mungo, it just feels randomly thrown in there. It's a very small portion of the film, which I can't figure out how it has weight to the overall narrative other than maybe making her a troubled teen, you know? But it's brought up the one short time and then never brought up again. And how aggressively it's brought up too, with the father, Russell, stating that Alice having sex with these adults, their neighbors, is like a direct link to the cause of her death.
As far as I'm concerned, the Tuohys were complicit in Allie's death.
Huh? Again, maybe I don't get it. Maybe I don't get it. Just keep that in mind. Maybe I don't get it, right? But the reveal of this in Twin Peaks is a lot more impactful because, well, first of all, before it's revealed, we start to learn some stuff about Laura. We know what Laura's image was and what she was like, and then it slowly gets revealed that she was sleeping with all of these people, also doing cocaine. Meanwhile, in Lake Mungo, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, here's this random character that was in, I almost said Laura, that was in Alice's room, and then here's like a short 10 minutes or so, maybe even less, focused on this sex tape that Alice had with the neighbors, which is a guy and a woman, so I assume it's the husband and wife. But leading up to this point, we don't know a whole lot about Alice other than she drowned. They give us like some vague descriptions of what she was like, and it's nothing out of the ordinary of what you would say for anyone, like nice and fun and happy-go-lucky. And then just very suddenly, oh, here's a sex tape that is never gonna be brought up again. And it's like one of the only two secrets of a double life that Alice... I feel like I'm sitting here rambling about it, but my point is that, like, what purpose did that serve? What purpose did it serve other than just being another similarity to Laura Palmer? Because if you take that part of the movie out completely and just look at the rest of the movie, that sex tape doesn't have any kind of weight to the narrative. Like I said, it doesn't get brought up again. The father gets angry, stating that these neighbors were like the direct cause of her daughter's death. His daughter's death, I mean. And by the way, her death is just that she drowned. It's not like she was murdered like Laura was. I don't know. It felt so random to me. It felt so random. And you know, Laura, if you watch Twin Peaks, Laura has a lot of secrets, like a lot that get revealed throughout the show. For Alice, her whole double life is just this sex tape, and then the fact that she interviewed with the medium in the film, Ray. And listen, the reveal that she has talked to Ray actually has weight on it. It has weight to the story. Because up until the reveal, Ray is getting close with the family and working with the mother, June, only for it to eventually be revealed like, hey, I talked to your daughter also, and I didn't tell you at all until you guys found her tape that she kept. Do you see how that has weight to it? The psychic has been close to the family the whole time and has withdrawn information of stuff that he knew about Alice. Do you see how that one has weight to it? I don't know. If somebody wants to explain the significance of that scene and how it carries any more weight than just being another string between Alice and Laura, please let me know, because it does drive me crazy a little bit if it does serve a purpose in the broader spectrum that I am not understanding. I would like to know. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the film itself, not just, you know, Twin Peaks. Lake Mungo is a very, very serious movie. Something that is uncommon for this trashy little channel. It's a really slow burn, a very slow burn, but it's realistic in the way it moves, and it's very convincing in its documentary style. The way that it strings the audience along reminds me of a true crime documentary, you know? The way that the interviews, you start at the beginning and then slowly the, what do you want to call them, witnesses? The witnesses are telling their stories in chronological order, not revealing too much too soon. Sorry, somebody needs attention right now. I feel like it's really easy for the documentary style of storytelling to not succeed, especially in a horror movie. But for Lake Mungo, it succeeds. So, are you biting me? Did I say Lake Mungo is a horror movie that succeeds at the documentary style? Because it does. It pulls off being a realistic documentary so well. Like, so well. And then the narrative itself is just like, I was engrossed. I was engrossed in it, you guys. I was actually afraid to take notes during my first watch of this because I felt like if I looked away to start taking notes, then I was gonna miss something. And I didn't want to pause it because then I would spend so much time taking notes that I'd have to go back and like make sure I'm still on the same page as the movie. So the first watch, there was a long stretch of time where I didn't take any notes in my notebook because I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything. And guess what? Despite doing that, I still missed so much shit on my first watch. I wanted to know. I wanted to know where it's going. I wanted to know the answers. I wanted to know how this ends up, how it ends, first of all, like, and then after a while of making sure I don't take notes so I can pay attention, I actually just straight up forgot to take notes at all. I was hooked. I was so hooked onto this movie. And I think the moment that does hook me in is when the mother is discussing how she's unable to sleep anymore, and during her nightly walks that would last 4 hours, if that's not weird enough, bitch was going into people's houses and she was like, I don't see anything wrong with this. We Gucci.
Sometimes I would actually go into people's houses. I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong. I guess I really just wanted to be inside someone else's life for a while.
Babe, can I just say that I feel vindicated that I wasn't crazy the first time I watched this. As soon as the movie started, I immediately could tell, like, something's weird about the family. Something's off. Now, to me, at first, I thought it was gonna be somehow revealed that the family had something to do with her death. But no, it turns out they're just going crazy because they are getting haunted to shit. I mean, like, I was so engrossed in this. I was as hooked onto watching this movie as I would be like a real documentary, wanting to know the tea of what's going on, wanting to get answers. And as I've already kind of hinted at, along with this narrative being very compelling, is this music like extremely loud or am I crazy? Alongside this, as I've already hinted, you need to watch the movie more than once. This is the kind of movie that like film analysts love. There are so many little details and hidden things in this movie that make you want to keep returning to watch it to see what you've missed. Like I said, I was fully paying attention. I was taking as minimal notes as possible. 100% paying attention on the first watch. And there were still little details about this narrative that I missed and didn't see until like the second or third watch. One example of this is in the very beginning, after the family goes to check Alice's body that they found in the lake or dam or whatever. They have to confirm the identity. When they drive back, their car isn't working and they can only drive it in reverse. So they have to drive in reverse home. And I didn't pick up on that on the first watch. It wasn't until the second watch that I was just like, oh, that's weird. And who knows? I've watched it 3 times. Who knows what else I have missed? This is a movie that you can return to again and again and pick up new different little things or even pick up on new theories and interpretations. This movie gives you so much room for interpreting yourself what's happening, what has happened, and how it ends. I think there are many different interpretations or meanings that people can gather from this movie, but it's also what ends up making Lake Mungo feel very memorable. Because after it ends, you're still stuck there thinking about it, you know? You're thinking about the ending. Well, I'm gonna talk about the ending. It's a major spoiler. But you're also like questioning little things, such as, you know, one of the things that I ended up questioning is Alice's interviews with Ray and how she's under hypnosis, how much of what she's sharing with Ray end up kind of lining up with what her family experiences after she's a ghost. Almost like in these hypnotic phases, phases. She's looking into the future and seeing her family react to her, I guess it's an apparition. Which brings me to the ending. I think the end can be interpreted in a lot of ways. And the way that I interpret it, I don't know. There's something about the way that Alice and June's final interviews are paralleled. The music that gets played, the very last shot, I believe, is Alice in the house looking out the window, like her apparition looking out the window. And at the end of the film, there's this focus from the family that Alice isn't here anymore. It's all calm. She's gone. Alice is totally still in that house, dude. Alice is definitely still a ghost in that fucking house, dude. It's just that everything's calm now because it's like her secrets were revealed to her family and she can rest easy. And on one hand, people might see this as her moving on. However, if Alice moved on, why would they include the parallels of Alice and June's interviews? And why would the final fucking shot be her stuck inside the house while the rest of the family poses for a photo outside of it? Alice is totally still a ghost. I don't know, that's what I got from it. I'm sure several other people have several other interpretations, and that's fine, that's groovy. That's what's so cool about the movie. I like it when it's open for interpretation over some of the stuff that's happening or has happened or how it ends. And I know this section was meant to mostly just be talking about how good it is at doing this faux documentary style, but I also need to tell you about how good the narrative is. Norman, can we stop trying to catch birds? So in the sense of its narrative and the way that it's shot, by the way, this film is beautiful. I don't know where else to add that in, so I'll just throw it in right here. It's gorgeous. It is such an, oh my god, so many of the shots are just gorgeous. It's so beautiful. But I'm sure what a lot of you are even more curious about is Lake Mungo actually scary? I think this is going to depend on who you are and what your relationship to horror is. And leading up to my time, before watching this, one word that I've always seen people label it as is disturbing. Is Lake Mungo disturbing? It depends on you. For all of you little freaks who are here for me to, discuss disturbing cinema, no, me and you are not going to find this movie disturbing. But the people who are afraid of ghosts and the afterlife, I think they will absolutely find this movie disturbing. And whether you find it disturbing or not, I think it is just objectively scary. Is it gonna jump scare you? No. Well, I think once it does. It's not scary in the way of, you're worried about some kind of force jumping out at the camera or someone getting killed, or it's not scary in your face scary. It's scary on like a philosophical level, because as the questions about Alice are getting answered, the audience gets more questions about the afterlife. This movie is scary in the sense that it's questioning mortality and the afterlife and what people experience in the days or months leading up to their death. It doesn't come from this evil, threatening force like you would typically see in a horror movie. It's again, this focus on a discussion on what happens when we're about to die and what happens after death. And it's kind of a discussion I think people talk about a little bit, like already. And it has the question of what if before we die, our own ghosts haunt us, warning us like an omen that we are about to die. Bitch, I'm sorry. Maybe me and you are built different, but if I was starting to get haunted by my own ghost, yeah, that's scary. It's scary because it has this like lingering question that kind of sits with you after you finish the movie about, what happens in the days or months leading up to death Do I see my own corpse? Do I have this feeling like something's about to happen and nobody can save me? Do I start to feel like sick and unlike myself and nervous? And am I seeing things? Like, an example that I want to use for this is related to real life, and it's probably a funny example to use linked with a horror movie, but I want to talk about Jim Henson for a second. So I've watched a lot of stuff about, I love the Muppets. I love Jim Henson. Big fan. And often when people are talking about Jim's death, or the months, years leading up to his death, there are quite a few people who note this feeling like he knew he was about to die. The fiercity that he was creating with, how fast he was moving, how quickly he was trying to get his creations out there. A lot of people state, especially close to him, that it's almost as if he knew he was running out of time. So, that real life example in hand with the narrative of Lake Mungo, it really does make you question, like, am I going to have this unconscious, unwavering feeling that I'm going to die before it even happens? Obviously, there are a lot of other examples of people feeling this way up to their death, or perhaps even up to a near-death experience. And I think that's where most of the horror of Lake Mungo comes from, is that the idea sticking in your mind, like, what if I'm haunted by my own ghost? What if I have this unwavering, sickening feeling that I'm just about to go? It questions the afterlife, it questions mortality. It gives this idea of like omens coming in before you die. That's where the scare factor, at least for me, comes in with Lake Mungo. And then also just like a little note, I really love how we never clearly see Alice's face as a ghost. I just love that. I love how it's very blurry. There's hardly any details. Whenever it's in shadow, it looks like it's moving, morphing, transforming, kind of like the way you see in Skinamarink. So that's really cool. I really like Alice's ghost. I think she's creepy. But yeah, most of the horror isn't going to be coming from like things jumping out at you or things looking scary. It's more going to come with the lingering thoughts that follow you after the film turns off, which in my opinion should be the top goal of anything horror related, is if the viewer is able to bring it home with them. That's what horror should be doing, is making you bring it back with you, and then it stays in your head in the middle of the night and you can't shake it. All in all, what is the final opinion of Lake Mungo? Well, it's not scary in the sense of you're gonna be getting jump scared, or there's some scary monster, or something really gross and disgusting happens. No, it's going to scare you in the way that some of the questions you're left with are going to stay in your head in the middle of the night while you're trying to fall asleep. It's very compelling, and it's also just very melancholy and sad and dreadful. But I do think that for once in my life, that Lake Mungo does live up to the hype. Okay, I'm gonna say it. I do think Lake Mungo lives up to the hype. It is not often at all that I believe that. Majority of the time, I'm disappointed and I hate it. However, even though this isn't something that's necessarily like in your face, scary and demented, it is, it's so worth it. It's so worth the watch. It does such a great job of conveying its environment and emotion, and it does such a good job of being like a realistic documentary style. I was glued to the screen. I couldn't look away. I wanted answers. I didn't want to miss anything. This movie just, I was hooked. I don't know how else to describe it. I was just hooked the second that it started. I wanted to know everything. Typically, an overhyped movie does not live up to its expectation with me, but Lake Mungo really has. Is it exactly what I was picturing? No, not at all. That doesn't mean that it's bad though. And yes, I do have to say that there will probably be people who think that it's dog shit and that it does not live up to the hype. And I can understand that perspective, because here's the thing, when people are describing something as a disturbing movie, as I've seen Lake Mungo described, there are different levels of disturbing. So what is disturbing to one person isn't going to be disturbing to another. And my fellow freaks, I know that we are this other category. And that's why I'm telling you, it's not disturbing. If you're going into Lake Mungo thinking that it's going to be disturbing, it's not. It's just like a fun ghost documentary film with a very compelling narrative and a very compelling ending, leaving you with very compelling questions afterwards. And you know, my first point was the whole Laura Palmer thing. But while it does take a lot of inspiration from Laura Palmer, it still manages to create its own thing. Like, Lake Mungo is not Twin Peaks, even though Laura and Alice are basically the same character. And because of that, there's enough differences to where it's not a copy. It definitely feels more like an homage. Maybe the person who wrote it... Okay, so Joel also wrote it. So maybe Anderson is just a really big fan of Twin Peaks and likes the Laura narrative and wanted to do his own thing with it. That's more what I'm getting from this. But yeah, it's gonna be one of the rare times, probably, if not the only time, that I will tell you that a movie does in fact live up to its hype. It's not, like I said, it's a slow burn. It is a very, very slow burn, and it is shot in this documentary style, but I think that it is worth the watch. In fact, I think it is worth multiple watches. I would watch this, and probably should watch this, multiple times as well. And for that, Lake Mungo is going to be getting A tier. It's getting an A tier. I don't have any complaints about this movie. Like, the only real complaint that I have is the inclusion of the random sex tape. Again, if there's something that I'm not getting about that, please let me know, because I would rather be educated than just continue to be an idiot shouting my idiot ideas. But with that being the only gripe that I had with the film, the rest of it is just like, I couldn't take my eyes off the screen, dude. I wanted to know. I wanted to learn. I was so enthralled by it. And again, who knows? I watched it 3 times. Who knows the shit that I still missed? This is the perfect movie for film analysts to go through. Like, it's perfect for you guys. But I'm not a film analyst, unless maybe you want to consider a reviewer an analyst. I don't know. I'm just telling you what's good and what's bad and whether or not I recommend it. And I recommend it. Get into the description and watch this one. And with that, we are done with yet another movie review. Thank you guys so much if you stayed all the way until the very end, and make sure to stab that like button. It is a free and easy way to help support this channel. Also, if you just love this video so much that you want to hear me ramble about more B movies and disturbing cinema, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the bell icon so you can be notified every time that I make a new upload. Which, by the way, I do movie reviews every Friday, uploaded at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, is there a movie that you would like me to review? Put it in the comments and maybe you'll see it turn up on this channel. I always love getting viewer suggestions. Please put yours in the comments. Thank you for anyone who considers doing any of this. Sometimes I go live, and somewhere on the screen is where you can find me. It'll also be linked in the description. My days vary depending on my schedule, but typically you will see me live between 6 or 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then also on the screen somewhere are some more socials that you can find me at, if you have the desire to do so. Just again, thank you guys so much for everyone who has made it all the way to the very end. I really appreciate you. Our time here is precious. We really don't have a whole lot of it. In fact, you know, on theme, we don't know how much time we have left to live, unless we do, because our ghost haunts us. But anyway, we don't have a lot of time here, and the fact that you used your time to listen to me talk about Lake Mungo, I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. If I don't catch you in a live stream, I will catch you in next week's video. But until then, have a good night and stay safe out there.